Today's guest is Stewart Lewis, singer, songwriter, novelist, music supervisor, and director, whose career spans music, film, and literature. From founding the band Acoustic Junction to touring with artists like Shawn, Colvin, and DiFranco, Stewart has published multiple novels and now works across film and storytelling while teaching creative writing. Welcome, Stewart.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Okay, so to our listeners, this is a rare occasion, but for full disclosure, I know Stewart. I usually don't know our guests, so I have a history going back. I was trying to count. It's a long time, maybe 40 years or so. So I have seen him perform in venues with crowds cheering to some of his original music. I've read his novels. And I've even had the privilege of performing in his first feature and one of his shorts. So there's a little backstory here, but he was a great person to have for the podcast because he represents exactly what it's all about, that you're never too old to jump into a new pond and build upon everything that your life's experiences have shown you and demonstrated to you and create something new. And for you, it's definitely storytelling, I think. What do you think?
hmm Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That word gets thrown around a lot, and some people don't like using that word. Like, I'm a storyteller, but like, it is what it is. Like, it is what we do anyway. So I don't mind it.
Okay. Well, your lyrics told stories, and surely your novels told stories. I mean, and you have a real following of readership. And in having read some of your scripts you've created, they're all about complex stories and the layering of characters. So I know your family was very musically involved and very inclined and skilled. Were they the S word? Were they storytellers?
Not necessarily. They were more telling other people's stories. They did a lot of covers and, John Prine and a lot of country and folk kind of stuff. So they were more performers and sort of, I guess conduits of telling other people's songs, telling the stories of other people. Yeah. It was our generation that started writing our own material and telling our own stories.
Right. And your brother writes his own material too, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's a Grammy nominated songwriter and still doing it and yeah, he's amazing.
Was there a particular event that prompted you to say, I'm going to put singing and writing and performance on the back burner because I want to focus on my writing? I mean, what was the genesis of that morphing from performer to writer?
Well, had some success as a songwriter. I was touring with these acts that I was like, some of them were my heroes and I loved it. And then I went to LA and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. I ended up getting a record deal at a smaller independent label, but it ended up being really difficult. So I thought, I'll just be a writer instead. That's a great idea because no one's trying to be a writer. But yeah, so it's sort of like a backup plan that was like, that's not really a backup plan. That's sort of another like dream. I decided to go to school for creative writing and got my master's. And I ended up selling my first novel like right out of graduating there. So it ended up being a good career path because I got more yeses in that world than I was getting at the time as a singer.
Right. Well, who doesn't like validation, right?
Exactly.
I mean, your novels sell, they're not just produced with a limited run and then that's the end of it. I mean, do you have a following? Do you think you have readers that keep coming back to you? Because you have a theme that, which is your characters, I think.
Yeah, it's a coming of age sort of theme, and it's more modern and not, there's not zombies or apocalypses or anything like that. But yeah, I did for a while. I mean, I still do, but for a while when I was on Random House, I had a couple of books, one of which was sold to 5 countries. And so, I always say I'm huge in France. I'm also really big in Brazil for some reason. But yeah, I did have, there was a while that I had a pretty big following in the YA world, which is for like 12 and up. But yeah, the other books, you just try to find your audiences within them. But I was able to kind of create a little bit of a career there for a while with Random House, and I'm very grateful for that.
Did you see a film or did a friend suggest to you and say, "Your stories need to come to life, or they should come to life, and they should the story should become a screenplay, and it should be, on the silver screen." How did that genesis and morph into it?
Well, I got a lot of initial feedback from my editors. They would use the word cinematic when describing my writing. I mean, I think it's kind of a goal of every writer to sort of see it realized on the screen. So I always had that dream of like seeing that realized. And our mutual friend, Linda Yellen, is a great director and producer. And I sort of like, every time I put out a book, I was like, here, Linda, what about this one? Here, what about this one?
Why
And
not?
then she finally was like, "We're doing this." And I was like, "Okay, I'll believe it when I actually see it." But I, as you know, got to see it. You were on the set too. And it was one of the best weeks of my life. Like going there and seeing the characters exactly how I pictured them, saying my lines with a crew of 50 people.
Mhm.
We were employing the whole town in New Jersey. I mean, it was a special thing, and I was like, I freaking did this. Like, I created it. And Linda said at one point during a staff meal with the whole crew and everything, which was really sweet. She said, Stewart has the hardest job. He's the one who started with a blank piece of paper.
Mhm.
And it's true. It's true, and it is. I felt very honored to have all of these people come together to make it, including you.
Well, I was happy to be there. And she's right, because I mean, not only did you write the story, you created the whole world, the whole environment that took place. And to that point, also, the casting was superb. I mean, I don't know what your vision was for each character, but I can't imagine anyone else playing those characters. They just blended so well. So it was, yeah, I thought it was pretty seamless, and it really came together nicely.
Yeah.
So I understand you're working on another feature or more perhaps. I don't know everything.
Yeah. I kind of caught the bug with this one, good or bad. I caught the bug because I got to co produce and work on the music, which is amazing. And I decided to try and do it myself. So I made a short, which you led your talents to. And then I recently just shot a second short, which is starring Priya Ferguson from a little show you might have heard of called Stranger Things. Yeah, she's like a global star. So that was amazing to see that come together, and we're in post production for that. And the next step will be to try and make a feature that I've been developing over about 3 years now, which I know you've read some drafts of and you liked. I've gotten really great feedback for it, and I feel like that's sort of like the culmination of this sort of pivoting into the film world, is like being able to make my own feature. Whether or not I executive produce it or direct it, I just want to be able to say I wrote a feature and it became a film. So we'll
Right.
see what happens.
So you spoke about how, like, when you write a book, and a lot of writers say their dream is to see it actualized in a film. But when you're starting writing a screenplay, I would imagine, are you seeing the film in your head while you're writing? Is the process a little bit reversed than writing a book?
Yeah, it's totally different. A book is sort of like diving deep into the moments. I use the metaphor of like a Google map. When you go like this and you go into the map,
Hmm.
that's like more of where your novel is. You're seeing all the nuances, the trees, the buildings, the descriptions, blah blah blah. Whereas in a screenplay, you kind of have to pick the moments and have the audiences sort of fill in all of the backstory.
Interesting.
And you're also writing for everyone in a screenplay. I mean, people say, "Oh, I have great dialogue." That's great if you have great dialogue, but that doesn't mean you can write a screenplay, because you're writing for the lighting designer, you're writing for the production designer, you're writing for the actors in terms of blocking, you're writing
Hmm.
for everyone. Every page on a screenplay should have elements for everyone involved. So I'm learning a lot more about it. And it's not necessarily easier, but I find it really thrilling because it's just a different, it's like your podcast is all about. It's like pivoting into different things at different ages, it feels fresh and new to me. It's like I'm a creative. Like I'll always be creative, but like I've done music for so long. I've done writing books for so long. Now I'm in this whole world of film, and it just feels like a fresh new way to be creative. And I also love the collaboration aspect of it because writing a novel is very like singular. It's like you and your laptop for like 3 months. The collaboration is so great. I mean, I had a crew on this short of like 23 people, and they were the best crew ever. And it's nice when everyone comes together. I'm sure you're used to that in your work of collaborating. I love that aspect about it as well.
That's fantastic. So you've directed 3, 2, 3 films?
Too.
2. So that's also another tangent that you're getting into.
Hmm.
How did you learn the skills to, like, jump into the directing pool? Because that is, working with equipment, the camera, the lighting. I can see writing a segue into screenplay,
Hmm.
and certainly writing for songs, writing for novel, writing for screenplay, but directing's a whole new bag. So
Yeah.
how'd you get the courage or the gumption to jump into that?
It was something I kind of learned by the seat of my pants, and I was lucky. I mean, I think knowing you as a friend, you could also jump into something like that because, I mean, 90% of it is about reading people,
Mm,
and about being able to uh, kind of massage situations or bringing out the best of people, right? And being a leader and being supportive and being, someone that people can feel comfortable around. That's like 90% of it. Make people comfortable and be a great supportive leader and
mhm.
understand the nuances of people, right? Like we've been around this world a long time. Like we understand when something's going wrong with someone. So it's about reading the room, getting your vision across, and picking the right people to help with that. I mean, the DP is a huge person, a director of photography, is shooting the whole film. The DP is like a huge person that has to understand your vision. And then the AD, which is the assistant director, is the one that's sort of like the sergeant, that's like rallying all the troops and getting everything done. So you pick those two people, and then you're just sort of here answering all the questions
Yeah.
and trying to be like a gracious person, like, you and I know Linda, like she's one of the most gracious, authentic, amazing people. Like, I think being a director is at first and foremost, it's just being like a cool person, to put it really simply.
You're the maestro for so many different artisans and,
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to rally the troops, the more bees with honey, right? It's very true. And when it came to Linda, it was like make her proud because she was so encouraging from to everyone. I watched her, communicate with lots of different people on the set, and she was
Yeah.
the same with everyone, very
Yes.
supportive.
Yes.
So right now, I know you spend your time between Nantucket and Barcelona. You also spend some time down in Nashville.
Hmm.
Now, that's a little off the beaten track. So, was there inspiration to be found there? I mean, because the culture is very, and you're from Massachusetts, I should add.
Yes.
Was there a culture shock there, or was there something about that culture that you might, bring into your creative works?
Yeah, at first, Nashville can be very overwhelming because it's literally like everyone and their mother and their cousin is like a singer
Yeah.
songwriter. I mean, literally like hundreds of thousands of singer songwriters. But there's so much talent there. So I got to work with a bunch of people for the One Stupid Thing movie and also for my short. And it was like so easy to sort of there's such a wonderful connection of people there. It's not like Los Angeles where people, where you can't get access to people. Like you can get like a meeting with Dolly Parton. You could walk in like Music Row, like everything's open. You could walk into a record company and go to one of the biggest songwriters, Shane McNally. His office is like you can see him through the window. It's very accessible, and people
Mm.
aren't like, "Don't touch me," like it's so in that way. I found it pretty amazing, and the talent. I mean, even the guy at the airport is like amazing. You walk by the airport and there's like some guy singing and like some girl's crying like in her beer. There's so much talent everywhere there. So it can be overwhelming, but it was also really interesting to be in that world for a while. And I hosted a couple of concerts on our rooftop and had some really wonderful community sort of gatherings there. And it was a good experience. My husband ran NPR there for about 10 years, and we've since left Nashville, but I'm sure we'll go back and visit.
That's nice. You have nice memories that will draw you back. Because you've had success in the different fields that you've done in performance and in writing and in screenwriting and directing, because Cookies was wonderful,
Thank you.
which I should point out that's the first short he directed, and it has got a dreamlike quality to it, and it's a story as old as time and yet fresh and new. What is some of the advice that you might give to young persons that are moving into a new creative film, whether it's any of those, film, music, or writing? And what mindset will help them succeed in the battles or the challenges? Do you have any great words of wisdom for people?
I read a piece recently about this woman who started figure skating at age 50. And I think it was in the New Yorker. It was so inspiring. But there's also a book written by the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert. I always thought it should have been Eat, Fuck, Sleep, but that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, she wrote a book about creativity and it's incredible, but that's a whole nother thing. But I always go back to, if I may quote Mary Oliver, she has a line that says, "The world offers itself to your imagination." So it's like you get out of bed and your mind is open and you know that there is so much possibility. It's like, yes, I want to make a feature, but who knows? Maybe after that, I'll go to outer space. Like life
Hmm.
is too short and often confined by the trappings of our mind or the conventions that we think we can't do that. But the truth is, anything can happen. If you love it and you do it, other people will love it too,
Right.
because that's something that they can't deny. And even if you don't, you're following your bliss. Like I had a friend in Nashville who always said, be nimble. Nimble was her favorite word. Just be nimble, and then pivot was a big word for COVID. I still think it's a great word, but try something new, even if it's scary at first. And that's how you can build sort of a life without regrets, if that's even possible.
That's a common thread in these podcasts because we are talking about taking leaps and making changes. And you have to be courageous and you can't be fearful of falling or of rejection. And you have to just say,
Yeah.
I love this. Love being a writer. I love being an actor. I love being a director. And yeah, I'm going to fail or I'm going to be rejected, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And because it's my passion. And it's the people who say, I won't be deterred by commentary around me and the buzz around me. I'm going to do what my heart and my brain and my soul are telling me to do.
Exactly.
And I think it's really important because people, it's one thing in your 20s to say, I'm going to run off to Hollywood and be a star, or I'm going to run off to Nashville and be a star.
Hmm.
But, when you're later on in years, people think, oh, my decisions are, this is my golden years and I have to, be cautious and everything. And you don't.
No.
You can be as adventurous as you want.
Yeah.
And it's a common theme that we hear people saying, just jump into it. And you'll also find your pillars of support, the people around you
Hmm.
that believe in you.
Yeah.
So that's really important too, that you surround yourself with positivity because our industry, all of them, which we've spoken about, the non-industry folks might think is really cutthroat and competitive, is not. There's a lot of support within our industry.
For sure. You remind me what you were just saying. There's one quote from Allen Ginsberg that I love, which is, in order to find your voice, you have to forget about it being heard.
Hmm.
And it's sort of like that, if you're worried about what other people are going to think, then you're not going to be authentic and you want to just do your art. I always tell my students, like, just do it and don't think about who's going to read this. Like, is my neighbor going to read this, or is my sister going to see this? My first novel, I was like, my mother could never, I was like, my mother's not reading this. And my editor said that means it's good. And she ended up reading it. And there were blowjobs and other things, but she loved it. You read it too.
There's a lot of gratuitous nudity, as I recall, which can be spellbound. It was a page turner. Okay, as always, historically, we've gone over time because I'm a talker and you're a talker. And I told my production people, we're going to go over, just don't even give me a, it's not going to work. So it's, I knew we would have fun. All of our guests have fun, but since we've got a history, which is very unusual, again, as I said, that we would have a good laugh. And you've shared some really great insights because you've really, you've achieved certain levels of success in a lot of different creative fields, and you're really kind of tying them all together. So
Mhm.
it's really important. People say, hey, you know what? Stewart did it. He believed in himself. His last name isn't Goldwyn Mayer. You can do it if you want to do it. So thanks for joining us. I hope to see you sometime soon, perhaps maybe in the summertime.
Yes.
And good luck with your new project.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.